and I wanted to do is put out a video on the basically my top 40 that I follow. And the way I'm going to go ahead and do this, I'm going to tell you whether we have a buy signal on it, or whether we have a sell signal on it, or if it's a long-term hold, whether we're in full position, half a position, or no position. And then I'm going to give you the stop. So it may take a couple minutes to go through this, but I'll try to be as brief as I can. And I'm going to try to do this way every day, so that those who are interested in where I'm sitting on this, you'll get a sense. All right, let's get started. So first one is First Majestic. We had a buy on it on the 28th, and it's still counter trend. And so the stop needs to be, right now 766. That would be a failure. And I work off a 4-hour bar, so it would need to fail sometime that day. Boyle, we just bought back into Boyle. We got a buy signal on Boyle again this week, and it's also, but it's going with the trend that we have. And so my stop on this is actually, we're really full position, half position on this. So we're back to a full position. It's mid 15s is our average on this. We had a nice trade on it earlier this month that we took profit on, and so we're back to a full position on it. And if it falls below this low right here, we'll have to get out and reassess Boyle. Brooks Automation is in a sell right now. Chesapeake Energy is in a sell right now. Corn is this is a position that's a long-term position we own, and right now we're back to a full position in corn, and I'm essentially buying anytime it hits this blue line here. It's a VWAP line that the corn is in a nice steady uptrend right now, and I would have to reassess corn if it fell below this low here. A CRK, it's right now we're not in it, but looking to get back into it. Right now it's on a short-term sell. A DBA is another long-term position, and right now it's would be considered a half position owned, and I'm waiting to see if it hits here before I get a turn up in my momentum. And again, this is a nice trade up. DBA is a diversified ag fund, and so I'm expecting this to keep moving higher. Drip is we've jumped in and out of this thing pretty hard, but right now it's counter trend. It's a buy again. This is a bit of an anomaly for us because I was away from my desk for an hour when this basically from the news situation. So I have to assess it, but officially it's counter trend, but it's a buy, and the low would be on Thursday's low. Dust, it's right now it's a sell, and since it's a 3x is I recommended that people should buy puts on it and let it fall back down from 41 to mid 30 area again, and still counter trend. Emerging markets is it has a buy signal on it as of Friday. ERX is right now on a sell, but it's not ready to be sold short or buy puts on yet. GDX buy signal on the miners, still counter trend, so the low from Thursday would be a stop. GDXJ the same. GLD is right now, it's still counter trend. I had a buy on it from Thursday, and it's looks like it's reaching back up resistance area again. So we'll have to see how long this move lasts. But long term, I think gold's going to start moving up into an uptrend. JDust is is on the sell right now. JJG is consolidating for another move higher. Its trend is up, and it's recycling its momentum. So anything between where the price is now and 28.40, if momentum turns up, will be back to a full position recommendation. Coffee, we just recommended to take a half position in it. Had a great run, and but it's refusing to go down. So I'm keeping an eye on the momentum chart again. But if it breaks back up above the highs this week, then I'm going to have to go back in on a full position. Labu, I don't want to talk about this one. MOS, we just had a nice trade from the bottom of the channel here on the earlier this month, and we got stopped out here in the 24-20 area. So made a 4 or 5% move. It's recycling again. It's still counter trend, but looks like we may get another buy on this thing pretty soon. And I'm happy to make 2, 3, 4% on this every time it makes a move. And when this thing turns up, this thing's going to rocket. Nugget is buy with a stop underneath Thursday. Oil is on the sell right now, and it's still counter trend. So the longer term trend is still up. So we'll have to respect that line down around the 580 area, see if it turns it up, and it's still not worthwhile shorting. So look for a bounce when it gets to the bottom of that channel. SDS is, with this election coming up, it's really going to be crazy, but it's just chopping around so much that it's just almost impossible to make money on. It's officially a buy, but a counter trend, and I just have to see what next week brings. Sugar is on a sell right now, and but it's counter trend, and so I'm watching to see if it pulls up. But it's been a pretty persistent sell here for the last week, and so we're just watching it. SH is the same as SDS. I'm looking for this to start moving higher, but it's so choppy it hasn't been worth trading. SLJ is in a buy, and it's on a still counter trend. So for those, we've been in it a little bit earlier than here, but it's signaling a buy again, but the low would be on Thursday. SLV is on a buy. It's been ignoring any of the minor weakness here of late, and but it's coming up to some resistance here, and it may have hit it on Friday. We'll see how next week goes, but silver's still counter trend as well. SLW is my biggest equity position, and it has another buy in it, so I took off my sold calls. And just the way I trade it, because I have a full position, I'm not buying any more SLW. I have a lot of it. Is that when I have a buy signal on it, I take off my my covered calls, and when I get a sell signal, depending on if I have an uptrend or a downtrend in it, is either I sell out of the money or I sell in the money. Calls a week to 7 trading days out. SPY is, I'm going to have to see what the follow through is on this. It hit the fib line, so we'll see if this news continues to drip out, or if this was just another shake and bake. But just personally, from my standpoint, next 7 days is not worth being a hero, so I'm just trying to be very careful with the positions that I own. SRS, it's definitely a buy. It hit the top of the channel, but it has a bull flag on it. And it is an uptrend, and I think this is all predicated right now on the Fed raising their rates, but long-term commercial real estate's in trouble. So this looks like a good stock for us to start following, and I just wanted to wait to see if the Fed would raise rates first, because we'll have plenty of time to make a lot of money on SRS once they start making real estate more expensive to own. U-Gold is a buy. and it's still counter trend. So Thursday low would be where I would put a stop. The dollar, I just have it up here to watch. Starting to roll over. Still counter trend is an up move, so you got to respect that. But hopefully this is the break of the dollar for the commodities that we own. UVXY is, I was short volatility into Friday, and looking for a quick trade for a Friday to close positions, and the news just blew that away. And at this point, UVXY is hard to predict, when it'll roll over, but it's our resistance here. But with news out 7 days, we can get this embedded here and have this thing run up to about $19 or so. And so I have to respect that. So, I pulled my UVXY put positions that I personally had on, and I had XIV positions that we got blown out of, like closed for, a good 5 or 6% loss on Friday based on that news event. And so I'm going to be very cautious here now. I've had a great run at XIV this year, and the news and the move just it causes me some pause right now. And the VIX, this is why VIX is up. It's still counter trend, but I suspect this is going to go up. And sometimes when this thing goes, it can really go. So if it gets into the 20s, then it's going to make a great UVXY short. But I think I'm just going to wait on it, and hopefully we'll have a good trade into the end of the year once we get past the election and once we get past the Federal Reserve and see what they're doing. And then we'll have a window probably to short this thing for the end of the year, and then I think 2017 is going to probably be pretty brutal. VXX, we just talked about that. I owned it for a day or two. I'm just not a very good VXX trader. I need to probably trust the signal a little bit better, and I think I'm going to try. But for your purposes right now, it's been a buy all week, and we'll see what next week brings. But it's still, and it always is pretty much counter trend, so you just got to be quick on your trade. But here's an 8% move right here, if you trusted it. So anyway, if you're in it, then I probably would look at that Thursday low as probably a stop for yourself. And then as it continues to move up, just keep moving your stop up, trail it. Wheat is starting to break its counter trend down. The linear regression line is still down, but my moving average direction indicator now is starting to turn chop positive, and right now we're long wheat, and it looks like we're going to get another roll higher on this. The ag and the grains, I think, are going to be a great trade for 2017. XBI is on Friday. It got a buy signal. I didn't do anything with it, but it's a buy, but it's still counter trend. And just personally, I just stay away from biotech until after the election. XLE is pretty neutral. And we're back to AG. Now I must have accidentally took off XIV off of my thing, but we got and here's where I flashed the sell signal for everybody that subscribes to us. And I was looking for a quick grab. I day trade this thing a lot, but from a swing standpoint, it's not ready to be bought yet. It can go all the way down to here, or get into this range here. So we just simply have to wait and see where this goes. But it's still with the trend, and it's higher. So we just hopefully we'll just catch another move higher. But I think the next 7 days are going to be really, really interesting, depending on if the FBI puts out anything more tantalizing, or if they get stronger language. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, this is my my signals and where we are, what we're watching, and just so you know, what I own and what I'm most interested in personally is Boyle, the Ags, including MOS, and the metals and miners, and then I day trade XIV. I'm pretty much staying away from most everything else until after the election. And if my hunches prove true, is that's where the money's going to be made next year anyway. Natural gas, metals and miners, and agriculture. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys all on Monday.